Hello everybody and welcome to Sin City Living. My name is Jason. I've got today's episode of our brand new series. We're going to try two brand new series for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy them. Please give us some feedback on it. But they're going to air once a week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday. The first series is going to be true crime. It's going to be Las Vegas based true crimes. We want to go a little bit on the darker side of the of Las Vegas and of Sin City, and we want to talk about unsolved ones, or just the weird ones, the strange ones, or the sensational ones. So there's obviously, this being Sin City, there's an absolute ton of things that we can talk about, a ton of crimes, even ones that don't necessarily entirely encompass just Vegas. For instance, of course, everybody knows wow, now all of a sudden the name is escaping me, but anyway, the name will pop up. But acquitted for one crime and then got busted for another one here in Las Vegas, and ended up going to jail. O.J. Simpson, the O.J. Simpson thing. So a little bit on the darker side for this series, and then the Tuesday night series. Every Tuesday night we will have an episode just on Las Vegas history. And again, we're going to try and keep it on more interesting, fascinating things. It's probably going to be a lot of mob-related stuff with the origins of some of the casinos in Vegas. I do plan on putting a couple of episodes on some of the big cheaters that have been caught or not caught here in Las Vegas. The first episode coming Thursday is absolutely fascinating in my mind. From everything I've read of various cheating scandals and all that, he is probably the premier con artist, scam artist here in Vegas. But anyway, that'll be for Thursday. For today, again, darker side of Las Vegas, and we're going to go with true crime. I decided not to lead off with a serial killer or some big bloodbath going on here in Vegas. I decided to keep it a little bit more tame, but I wanted to go with Unsolved this time. So this isn't going to have any sensational murders or anything along those lines. It's going to be a little bit more, I guess, PG. So here we go. And again, please let us know what you guys think of these. As always, hit the like and subscribe buttons. We definitely appreciate all of those. And thank you to all of our patrons. We appreciate all those tips and support. Just going to go towards making the channel better. If you're curious about it, go ahead and check the link down below this video. And that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into today's episode. So, it was a dark and stormy night. Nah, I'm just kidding. It was the middle of the day, and this is Vegas, so we don't get a whole lot of stormy nights. But it's back in 1991, September of 1991. The Valley Bank of Las Vegas. Just a normal, everyday operations going on. And an elderly gentleman walks in. And the bank, the manager ends up meeting with him, or I guess like the customer service or whatever it may be. The gentleman comes in, and again, he's an older gentleman, right? This is the case, by the way, of the Grandpa Bandit. Older gentleman comes in, meets with the bank, and he's looking to take out a second mortgage on his home. And this is one of the things that I find kind of interesting about this. The fact that it's unsolved, and yet he wanted to take out a second mortgage on his home, which meant that he had to supply some information. And they actually make some phone calls regarding his application. So the information must have either been absolutely phenomenal forgery, an amazing con using stolen identity all the way back in 1991, or something else that I can't quite figure out on how they weren't able to figure out who this was and catch him. But he has to take out a second mortgage on his home. The reason he gives, he's trying to tug on the heartstrings a little bit, is he tells him that he has cancer. And he's not looking for a second mortgage in order to pay for his medical treatments or things along those lines. He's looking for a second mortgage just to pay his living expenses until he dies. So again, he sounds a little bit like he's kind of trying to tug on the heartstrings a little bit. engender himself to them a little bit, get some sympathy going between them and him. So he fills out whatever paperwork they need to fill out, and the bank manager, Allison Owen, she takes his application, takes his information, and she makes a few phone calls. This is 1991. This predates the internet. Well, the internet was around, but not really, I suppose. So this predates being able to just type everything into the computer and have it spit up all the information, and then an approval, underwriter and all that, just bang, 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 at least a preliminary approval. So she had to make phone calls. So she's making all these phone calls. She makes whatever phone calls she needs to make to see whether or not that they would be able to approve him for his loan. And she tells him, unfortunately, we are just not going to be able to approve your loan. Just nothing that we can do to assist you with it. So he's very calm. He's very polite. Everything about the Grandpa Bandit. He's very even keeled. Very even keeled. Isn't rude. Doesn't make a scene. Doesn't make a fuss. He's just okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And he leaves. No big deal. They don't think anything of it because this kind of stuff happens to them every day. People come in every day to do loans. They get told no every day. So no big deal. So then about 15 minutes later, so this is a fairly short amount of time here, he comes back in and he comes and meets with her again. Now again, nothing seems odd about this. He's again, elderly, looks like a grandfather. He's about 5'5", about 170 pounds. So just normal, everyday, slightly out of shape, older guy. Again, well-dressed, polite, doesn't cause a fuss, isn't super energetic. It doesn't seem all crazy or wild or aggressive or anything. He's just a normal, everyday guy. So he comes back in to talk to her again, and he tells her, well, if I'm not able to get the loan, would it perhaps be better if it was in my wife's name, if my wife were to apply for it instead? And of course the bank manager really doesn't know. She's not the underwriter, she's not the mortgage broker, anything along those lines. She had to make calls for all of this stuff. So she says, maybe, don't know. Why don't I give you the number and you can call the mortgage, you can have your wife call the mortgage broker herself and apply for the loan that way for the second mortgage. And he says, that's reasonable, that's fair. So Miss Owen, or Mrs., I'm not sure, starts to write down the phone number for the mortgage broker so that this gentleman could have his wife call. And while she's doing that, he pulls out a gun. And again, he's very calm, very even-keeled, very quiet about this. So he pulls out a gun and tells her not to make a fuss, not to scream, not to do anything crazy, and that he is going to rob the bank. So he's getting his money one way or the other. And then he takes a device out of his briefcase or his pocket and straps it to her wrist. Tells her it's a bomb. And he tells her that this bomb will go off if she presses an alarm. And he also tells her that she needs to keep her arm within 6 inches of her body or the bomb will also go off. So apparently this whatever device he straps to her wrist, he manages to convince her that it is an extremely complex and very sensitive bomb. I'm not too sure we could make a bomb nowadays, 30-something years later, or 30 years later, that could do what he was saying, because this device would apparently be able to intercept the hardwired alarm signal and detonate, or be able to tell whether or not it's within 6 inches of her body. I mean, we probably could design something like this, but it wouldn't be something that somebody could design at home or in their garage and strap onto a random person. Something tells me this is something that would be custom designed for a specific scenario. So he straps this onto her, and he tells her again, we're going to be very quiet, we're going to be very calm, and you're going to open up the vault for me. Well, unfortunately, back in that time period, things like time vaults and stuff like that weren't so big. Nowadays, you might have an issue with something along those lines because a lot of vaults are set on certain timers, the time vaults, time lock vaults, stuff like that, where it could only be open at a certain time of the day. You know, oftentimes very early in the morning, and then basically open and close, kind of, or before open and after close. So this doesn't have quite so many controls on it. It only really has one control on it, one safety control on it, and that's that it takes 2 employees in order to open it. So they're going to need 2 employees to open this. The bank manager obviously is just one. And she tells him that, you know, I can't do it myself. We're going to need a second person. So they call one of the tellers over. So apparently this vault, you know, I'm guessing it was probably a combo, and one of those where you have the 2 keys that had to be turned at the same time. So that's why it would require 2 employees, because they called a teller over. You would think another manager or you know, lead teller or something like that, but they just called a random teller over. And they call the random teller over, and he displays his gun to this teller, and then straps another device to their wrist. And then they proceed to the vault, just the 2 of them, or the 3 of them, I suppose, with the Bandit along with them. So they go to the vault, and when they get to the vault, they open up the first safe. And he opens up his briefcase, because again, he was very well dressed and came in very professional and all that. So of course he had a briefcase with him. So he opens up his briefcase and he pulls out basically like a duffel bag kind of thing, and tells him to start loading up the cash. And this is the first thing that kind of strikes me with this when I was researching it, is he left for 15 minutes and then came back. And he had the briefcase with him the first time, of course, and of course he has a briefcase with him the second time, and it makes me wonder, the first time he was in, did he have the gun already with him and the bag? Because obviously this is pre-planned. Obviously he didn't just have an empty briefcase with a duffel bag in it and a gun just chilling out in his car. Even in '91, we weren't quite that wild west out here. So this was all pre-planned, obviously. So why didn't he do it the first time? Was he casing the joint? I mean, it wasn't an Ocean's 11 type of master plan or some Mission Impossible kind of thing where he's scaling the building and then cutting a hole in the ceiling and dropping down through it like a fly on a web, like a spider on a web. He was robbing it kind of the old-fashioned way. So they throw this much money they throw all the money from the first safe into the duffel bag. No big deal. And then they go to the second safe. So they get to the second safe, and they open it up, and it's empty. And they tell him, well, this money was already picked up earlier today. He thinks she's lying. He accuses her of lying, and she's assuring him. I mean, obviously she's terrified. This guy is got a gun on her and is robbing the bank, and she's trying to assure him that she's not lying. And again, because he's very calm, very even keeled, some people might think, well, you're going to feel a little more safer, you're going to feel a little bit more secure because this guy is, he's calm, he's not going crazy or anything like that. But as a military vet, I could tell you that someone with a weapon that is completely calm can be almost a little more frightening in a way. So don't think that she was feeling completely secure through all of this, because she probably was not. She was probably even more terrified because he was just so calm, so icy about this. Still friendly from all the reports. He was a pretty nice guy. So she assures him that she's not lying. The money was picked up, and he accepts this and says okay. And he tells her, well, I'm going to be leaving now. And she says, she asks, but what about these bombs? He says, don't worry about it. In 20 minutes, I'm going to call and I'm going to tell you how to disarm them. And he calmly walks out of the bank. Now, what gets amusing to me with all of this is he calmly walks out of the bank. He says he's going to call back in 20 minutes, but it takes 25 minutes for the bomb squad to show up, or bomb expert to show up. I don't know if he was coming by Burrow or something, but because how bad could the traffic have been back in '91? Vegas traffic isn't that bad now. So, bomb squad finally shows up, or the bomb expert finally shows up, examines the devices, and shockingly enough, lo and behold, it turns out they are fakes. So they get the devices off of these two, and of course they begin their investigation. Now, he made off with $37,000. Now that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but again, we're talking 30 years ago. 30 years ago, $37,000 was quite a large chunk of change, and he was looking for a second mortgage on his home. Again, this guy was in his mid-50s, so his home was older. He probably came about the same amount of money as he would have theoretically been attempting to apply for with a second mortgage. Though obviously, clearly, that was just a story, since obviously everything must have been fake, or they would have been able to catch him just from the details from applying for the loan. Plus, they do suspect that this same person may have robbed up to 3 other banks in the western United States. Now, here's the weird things with this. Aside from the fact that it's unsolved, they never caught this guy, is that there's 2 things that really, really, really struck the investigators as odd about this. Is one, this robbery took 10 minutes. Now, I'm not an expert in robberies, and I don't know very many people that are experts in robberies and things along those lines, but just from the movies I've seen, you would think that they're pretty quick. They're, let's get this going. Come on, just like in the movies, all right, 30 seconds, go, 10 seconds, wrap it up, and then take off. And the investigators said the same thing, that typically robbers want to be in and out as fast as they possibly can. Meanwhile, this guy is just kind of just lounging his way through, nice and calm. And when he said he was gonna walk out, that's what he did. He walked out. He didn't run out. He just walked out the door. Walked out the door, into the sunset, and gone. The other thing about it that the investigators found so strange is how incredibly calm he was. Typically, again, this is a high-stress thing you're trying to pull off. So people are usually very stressed out, very jittery, very nervous, very jumpy. There's a lot of screaming and yelling to try and intimidate and assert dominance over everybody that you are interacting with, that you were trying to rob or trying to control. Whereas this person was the exact opposite. They were very calm. They never screamed. They never raised their voice. It's one thing that was made very, very clear. They never raised their voice at all. There's no cussing, no screaming, no yelling, no jitteriness, no nerves. Just calm, every day. Here's what we're doing. Here's this bomb. And again, you would think, plus, obviously he knew the bombs were fake, but that also would add a little bit of stress to things. Plus, the stress of the people you're robbing, that stress does transfer to the person that's doing the robbing as well. So the investigators were struck by both of those things. The amount of time, how just patient he was, and how not in a hurry he was. So he just, even with the threat of the bombs, he knew that nobody was going to set off the alarm, apparently, which is crazy, because it's not just those 2 that he strapped the bombs to, but he has to worry that maybe somebody else saw something out of the corner of their eye, or saw something that struck him as fishy, or were wondering why this guy's walking back to the vault with the manager and with a teller, even if he was concealing the gun. None of this shows up. None of this ends up happening. Obviously, nobody hit the alarm until after he left and all that, but he doesn't know that. How could he know that? So he's very, very, very calm, and it struck the investigators as very odd. It's probably why they may suspect him for some other similar type of bank robberies, although the Simo doesn't pop up again, but similar type bank robberies, because clearly he's an old pro at this. This to him is just another day at work, versus someone that's running in, screaming, yelling. It's their first time trying to rob a bank, going in like Jesse James trying to rob a train. He was just nice and calm, and just walked out into the sunset. And again, they never caught him. This is back in 1991. Again, he was about 5'5", 5'6", about 170 pounds. and somewhere in the range of about 55 years old. So even though they've never caught him, the investigators do suspect that there is a very, very, very high probability that he's dead, that he passed away just from old age. I mean, at this point, he would be in his mid 80s if they judged his age properly. So, so yeah, not only did they never solve it, they probably never will solve it. And so I found this a very, very fascinating, very interesting case. So I thought you guys might find it interesting and fascinating as well. And again, we will delve into the darker, much, much, much darker side of Las Vegas over time as we continue with this series every single week. And by all means, email us at sincityliving.lv@gmail.com if you happen to have any questions, any comments, any suggestions. I'm more than open to suggestions. This entire thing, this channel, everything about it is all experimental to me. It's all brand new. We're figuring things out as we go. So I do hope to make this recurring show better as time goes on as well. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys find this stuff interesting, and as interesting as I find it at least, and or at least almost as interesting. And we will catch you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching. Bye now.